I'm just double checking for the YouTube part.
Call on the ice. Stands. We gotta go. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ref Room. It's another week, and we are live. I'm coming to you from Chicago. I am Scott Smokin' Sills, and we will be joined by our man, Brad Baumrock. Welcome, Brad.
Scott, how's it going today? Hopefully very well. Hopefully I don't crash out like last time.
Yeah, I think we fixed some of the technology. You know, this isn't perfected yet, but just so you guys know, you can pick us up from a few different locations, and we have now added YouTube, which is probably the best place to go check us out because you're going to get the best quality, and we should be able to see the comments and everything. So it's Ref Room, and that's just on YouTube. I believe Brad chatted out the link, so hopefully you guys can do that. Please subscribe. Please hit the notification button. That helps us because we'd like to get a custom URL, and we need 100 subscribers in order to get that from YouTube. So the sooner we can get to 100, the easier it will be for everybody to find us. So I hope you guys had a great week. Hockey is coming back, and we're really excited about that. Lots of stuff going on. We're all starting to register with USA Hockey and getting ready for another season. And, of course, we're going to talk about some of that stuff as we go on. Today's show, though, we're going to look at Hockey 2020 and what it may look like. And we're going to look at it from a coach's perspective today. So we've got a very special guest on the show today. So let's welcome our special guest, and that is Jimmy Warrick.
Guys, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, man. I mean, Jimmy's also a referee, so you guys do know him as a referee. He's a really good referee, by the way, and I have a lot of respect for him. Worked a lot of games with him, and he's always a fun guy to work with. So Brad and I wanted to bring him on because Jimmy is not only a coach and a referee, he's also a scout, so he's got a lot of experience, and we wanted to kind of talk to him today and find out a little bit more about, you know, how this is affecting the coaching side of things, you know, what it's like for players and what it's like for, you know, the parents that are bringing the players to the games or at least to the practices at this point. So, you know, Jimmy, what are you seeing right now that's kind of going to be changing and moving forward into 2020? How's this going to affect things?
You know, I think the biggest thing is obviously, I mean, I think you guys talked about it before, but the parents not being allowed in the rink. So far, I've been having a couple of summer skates, and parents are not allowed even in the building, let alone to watch it. I think that's going to carry over into the season, in my opinion. I think that there was one showcase that I did scout at in the end of June, and they allowed one parent per player to come into the building. You know, were they strictly enforcing that? I'm not entirely sure, but I think that's going to kind of be the idea of it. A lot of it's going to be pushed towards just watching online with Live Barn, or every rink has got to be, you know, equipped with that. I think that's what's going to come down to if we're going to have a season.
Well, what rink are
Hey, Jimmy.
Oh, go ahead.
Hey, Jimmy, do you see an influx in penalty box attendants, scorekeepers, and timekeepers coming in our future? I'm just curious because that's the way I see it going.
Oh, absolutely. That's the only way you're going to be able to get inside and watch the game. But I mean, that's the other thing too, is, I mean, you know, our rink's going to just have like someone that does the Zamboni just do the scorekeeping job too, because you don't want to be bringing in people that you don't know if they have it, if they don't have it, if they have it in the past, if they're carrying it. You don't want to bring, I think they're trying to keep as few people in the rink as possible. You know, I was skating out of one rink this summer, and they wouldn't even allow kids to get dressed in the locker room for the first month. So you had to get dressed outside. You couldn't bring your bag inside. You had to literally dress outside in the parking lot, leave your bag in your car, and then come inside the rink, go right on the ice, and then you leave right away. You're not allowed to shower. You're not allowed to get undressed. You put your skate guards on, you walk back to your car, and away you go. So, and I mean, that was for all ages, whether it was, you know, I was working with kids that are as young as mites all the way up to college age players. So, you know, we're starting to get into using the locker rooms. I know rinks are having spaced out, you know, players, but even now they're still not allowing parents in. If your child can't get dressed on his own or her own, they got to get dressed outside and then continue to walk in and, you know, follow that protocol.
Well, now how is it? Obviously, you guys have a travel team. So how is this going to affect you when you go from, you know, point A to point B? I mean, if you have a tournament, say, in St. Louis, which I'm assuming you guys probably are going to be doing some traveling or whatever, Are you going to be taking separate cars? Are you going to take a bus? How are you going to have hotel accommodations? What do you see as the future for 2020 as far as that's concerned?
It's tough. I mean, you don't know. Every area is different, right? I mean, Illinois is a little bit strict in some ways, and there's other states that are wide open. You can do anything you want, but there's spikes in different states, and I think it's really going to come down to each organization just saying, this is what we're going to do. This is what you're going to expect. I think everyone has a plan that they hope works. I know the organization that I'm with, we're hoping that we can kind of go through the season and get a couple tournaments in and go through that and have fun. But I mean, even in tournaments, I think it's going to be totally different. I mean, you're not gonna be taking a bus. You're not going to be doing any of that stuff at the youth levels, at least. And even hotels, I don't know how many people they're going to even. I mean, if they're going to have a ton of rooms or what, I don't know what the case is. It's going to be totally different this year.
What age are you coaching right now, Jimmy?
So for the following season, I'll have a girls high school team, and then I'll have a squirt team and a Pee Wee team that I'll be working with.
Okay. You're a scout as well. So are you?
Yeah.
Have you been out looking at any of the practices or anything from the higher levels?
Yeah. So in the summer I train college and junior age players, and a lot of the college guys are the same. They don't know what to expect. I mean, they're training, but even they're saying, some of their schools are saying, we're not going to go back in, or you're going to be online, or we don't know if we're going to start the season on time. So, all these college players are like, do I push my training now? Do I push it in September? It's because obviously they're on a pretty tight schedule. They're used to, Jan or July, kind of take it easy, start to ease back into everything. And then August, you push the pace and get ready to go. But, with all this stuff, you don't know what to expect. I mean, I think everyone's hopeful, like I said, but it's gonna take a team effort. That's for sure.
Hey, Jimmy, going towards the college side of things, there have been a few smaller schools at some levels that have already decided that they're not gonna participate in the season, and I just want to know people if are.
I mean, I know, there's a big tournament, the Chowder Cup, it's the either Beantown or Chowder Cup, one of the two. I know one of those just got canceled in Boston. I know that Massachusetts is canceling a lot of stuff. I was supposed to go out to Vegas in August for a showcase that was canceled. I know there was a Chicago showcase that got moved to Indiana for the purposes of just a little bit more leniency in how many people are allowed and everything. I think that's kind of what everyone's going to base it off of. I know, the junior team that I scout for is in New York, and I think everyone knows that New York's having enough struggles as it is right now with all the rules and how strict it is and everything. So, I know that the league that they're in is the USPHL. I know the league said we are going to have a season. We are going to get through it. But the New York teams, all those teams in that area, they got to think about, do we play all of our games in Connecticut or an area where they allow us to?
Well, going to that with say like different levels of hockey, then let's say we're gonna pick a neutral site, and we're gonna pick, let's say, Connecticut, but my team's in Chicago. So how do we offset? I mean, maybe this is just a personal opinion. I think you'll probably give me here, but you'd have to offset some sort of that cost for that Chicago team in order to get out there, because teams do depend on some revenue as we go along and some sponsorships. And if you're a sponsor, you're not going to be able to sponsor that team in Connecticut if you're in Chicago and you're a Chicago-based company that only sells in Chicago. And correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's it. That's totally it. So, I mean, it's going to take a lot of adjusting. I know, a team in New York, they said they're planning on having everything normal, but, if they have to just drive, I mean, for them, obviously, it's easier than a Chicago team going to Connecticut, right? And I think that's what it'll be if they have to, the USPHL especially is so big, and they just expanded to out west. So you have so many different areas and divisions. Like in Chicago, they have the Minnesota area, Michigan area, all that area that they can find I'm sure they can find a neutral ground, but I don't think you're going to see these big showcases anymore of, even, I mean, I'm wondering what they're going to do with the North American Hockey League, because they always have the big Minnesota showcase where you have all teams in one building with 8 rinks, and that's great. But I mean, there's a ton of people that are just walking through that building in and out all day long. I don't know how you can keep track of it.
Well, in terms of like right now, what rink are you practicing out of? Because you're the hockey director, is that correct, for Lake Forest?
The assistant hockey director of
Okay.
the Winter
For
Club,
Winter
Lake
Club.
Forest.
So
Yep.
are you in Vernon Hills then? Is that your home rink, or where are you guys practicing
No,
out of?
so we have so obviously we're an outdoor rink, which
Right.
is always fun, unless it's like -30 outside. Then that's a little tough. But it's so during the summer we don't really have a home rink per se. A lot of our stuff during the seasons in Lake Forest Academy, Lake Forest College. We do some stuff out of Vernon Hills very rarely. Gurney. So we kind of travel around a little bit.
Where are
We
you
should be
practicing right now, though?
So we've been getting ice at North Shore Ice Arena.
So what's it like when you go there? I mean, from the time you pull up to the building, run us through exactly what happens.
Yeah, so like I said, this summer has all been my own stuff. So I do my own skills company and everything during the summer. So what we do is, I mean, for June it was you were allowed 10 players on half a sheet of ice, and players had to come in a specific door. So if you were on the west side of the NHL rink, you would come in the west door in the back of the building. So you'd get dressed in the back in your car or by your car, and then you'd walk in that back door and just go right on the ice. There was nobody walking through the building into anywhere. You had to, and like you couldn't use bathrooms, you couldn't use locker rooms, you couldn't use anything. It was you go in, you skate, you go out, you go home, and they had 20-minute intervals for every group. So I'd go on at 8 o'clock to 9, and then they'd have 20 minutes to clear everyone out, disinfect, clean, whatever they got to do, Zamboni the ice, and then probably 10 minutes or so to start filing everyone in. But I mean, they didn't want anyone in early either. They were having, I would have my 10 guys walking in probably 2 minutes before. They would unlock the side door, and they'd let everyone in, everyone get in, and then you do your skate and you go home. But now they can come in through the main door. For the younger groups that I have, parents still aren't allowed in the building. They can't come in and tie their skates. They can't do any of that. They go in the locker room, they get dressed, and they go home. And then for the older kids, it's the same thing. They gotta walk. They can walk in. They can go right to the locker room. They get dressed. They go on the ice. They can go in the locker room, get undressed, and then they go home. You don't see people hanging around. You don't see people talking in the lobby or anything. So it's weird just walking in the rink and not socializing, not doing anything. But I'm just glad that we're able to skate, honestly.
For you guys that are just joining us, we want to welcome you. This is the Ref Room. Our special guest today is also a referee, a coach, and a scout, Jimmy Warrick. So thanks for being with us, Jimmy. A couple things, guys. We now are up on YouTube. We have a channel over there. It's called Ref Room. So you can not only get us on Facebook, we've got a group called Ref Room. That's probably where most of you are getting us, but I ask everybody to please subscribe to YouTube. Hit the notification button. That will help us. We need to get 100 subscribers so we can get a custom URL. We do this every Wednesday. We start off at noon. We're definitely going to be doing some special guests and some things of that nature as hockey begins to open up a little bit more. If you guys haven't registered yet, registration for USA Hockey for Reffing is open at this point, so you can get in there, register, download the test. I haven't done that yet. I did register, but I haven't got the test yet. And Brad, what are we looking at for seminars this year? Have they talked about that at all? And what are things going to look like for the referees?
Well, Scott, I think everybody's going to be doing their same thing throughout their local. Everybody's talking still, unfortunately. I was hoping to have a little more information. But right now, I still don't have that much. I should know a little bit more after tonight's. And that's about it right now.
Very cool. Also, guys, if you have some comments or questions, we'll take questions and we'll do a little Q&A. So just type into your comments area. What I ask is, if it's a question, please put a Q in front of it so we know. We're going to try to monitor these. They come in from a few different sources. So if we're not getting everybody, please don't be offended. It's not that we're trying to offend you, even though we probably are. But the fact of the matter is, we've got to get them from different areas. So some we may have to ask live or whatever the case may be. But, you know, feel free to comment, guys. We'd love to hear from you. I'm sure everybody out there has some questions. So, you know, we'll do the Q&A. And I want to continue with Jimmy, of course. So, Jimmy, are you having to wear a face mask on the ice? Is that required at this point?
Yeah, you got to have your face mask on. You know, I think it's just dependent on each rink, right? How serious, how strict they are. You know, I found one of those neck ones. I think that's probably the most comfortable, at least for me, just on the ice. It's hard for me to wrap it around my ears and let it sit there and then blow it. But it's hard too, right? Because you're trying to blow the whistle, you're trying to explain stuff and talk, and so you get caught up a
You got to
little
get
bit
that electronic
but
whistle that they're all talking about. I haven't seen one of those. Brad, have you got one of those yet?
No. No, they're like 20 minutes. Hey, how is it? You're not getting what you would call the locker room time beforehand, because everybody's got to be 6 feet apart and they're trying to do this and that. And do you seeing any time on the ice, because now you're explaining more?
Obviously, like I said, for the first part of June, we were only on half the ice. So, you know, we have 8 to 10 kids only on half a sheet of ice, and it's almost impossible to keep them distanced. You can't have 6 feet apart for every single drill. It just can't.
I know all about that. So I can't keep them apart. So imagine bringing all their buddies around. So I totally get that.
Exactly. And I think, you know, obviously the younger kids, it's not, a lot of them don't know them, or you know, they're just excited to be, like you said, they're excited to be on the ice with their friends and have fun and goof around. And, you know, I think it opens up a little bit more for skill and skating. You know, one of my, you have to be able to skate. If you can't skate, you're not going to be able to move up to any level. So skating is really, really important. So if you space them all out and you're doing skating drills and edge work stuff, that's a good thing. But, you know, again, all of hockey now is small area based. Everything is done in a small area, tight space. You know, in games, it's obviously when we're playing games, you're not going to be able to take that part of it away because of COVID. You can't just say no contact, no anything. I mean, that's part of the game. So in these practices, I think, you know, you're trying your best, but at the end of the day, you're working on skill, you're working on game situations. It's almost impossible to keep that 6 feet distance between every single player.
So I'm curious, Jimmy, if you know, with the parents not being able to come into the building, are you able to still have good communication with them? Do you guys do meetings, and how are the parents like reacting to this, because they're not able to watch their kids play? Are they, you know, communicating and having meetings with you guys, or how is that kind of working for you guys at this point?
You know, honestly, it's been different for each. Like, I've had some parents that are like, "Hey, I trust you. You got it. Like, I'm gonna drop him off. He can have fun. He or she can enjoy it." And then, you know, I'll ask them when they get in the car, "How was it?" They say, "Great." Then I'm okay. But, you know, and then you have some parents that right away are like, "How do you do? What does she need to work on?" All that. So I mean, I think you just got to understand.
Helicopter parents. I'm just checking. Helicopters. Just checking.
Not quite, but yeah. But, you know, I think it's like anything. You got to understand your customer, right? So, you know, what I'm trying to do, you know, the college kids and the junior players and the higher level guys, obviously they're not too concerned, and I don't have to explain to their parents anything because they're the ones that are just driving themselves. So I don't have to worry about them. But the younger ones, you know, I think it's a matter of, just like you said, good communication. So each time I'll try and send an email and say, you know, here's what we worked on. But one thing that I'm really big on is I take videos. You know, it's on my company's Instagram page. So if you go on Warrick Hockey Advantage on Instagram, you'll see like all the videos, and it's just that I think the parents are enjoying, because Live Barn isn't up for a lot of rinks right now. So they get to see that video, and I think that's enough where they see, okay, like it just brings them a little bit back to normal, where they, they haven't, a lot of parents haven't seen their kids play for 3 months.
I want to put this up for everybody because here's the link for the ref room. Thank you for putting that up, Brian. I appreciate it. Some of you guys were asking. I know Jack had asked about that, and I can't do everything because I've got all this stuff running, and if I open that, it'll open up a can of worms, so I can't copy and paste or anything. So I appreciate your putting that up. Let me run that one more time for you guys so you can grab it. It's the ref room in YouTube. So YouTube, and it's a long link, and that's why we want that custom URL. So we need 100 subscribers to make that happen, guys. So please hit the subscribe button, hit the notifications button. That will help us. Okay, this show is not sponsored. We're, Brad and I just kind of partnered up and did this together. We miss everybody from hockey, obviously, and just thought it'd be a good chance for everybody to kind of get together. There's a lot of changes in the world going on right now, so we thought it would be a good chance to talk about some of this stuff. And we do actually have a question now, so we'll take this one here for seminars. Brad, why don't you answer this if you can?
Well, Scott, can you read it to me? Because
I'm sorry, it doesn't come into you there? Okay. So for seminars, since some districts are doing virtual, does it matter what district we take? Let me bring that back up again. Does it matter which district we take our seminars through? From what I've heard, all closed book tests will be online. Well, I haven't heard that yet. Personally, I don't know. Brad, maybe you have a different answer. I don't think those things have been finalized yet because we can only register for USA Hockey. And I know, just personally speaking, I mean, I've taken a district seminar before, but you still have to come back and join IHOA. That's our group that you need to be a part of. So you could probably take the seminar somewhere else like you always could. I mean, you could go to Michigan and take your seminar, but you'd still have to join IHOA. And then, as far as you tell us what the deal is. Are we virtual? Do you think we're virtual? Who knows?
I think a lot of this is going to be done virtually. Again, we're going to talk about it again tonight. But the one thing I can tell you about districts, though, if you register outside of our district as an official, and you register for a seminar that is outside of our district, which we're in the central district, you would then have to communicate with the registrars of both of the districts in order to get you transferred over to our district to officiate. That's a USA Hockey ruling. They have that so the districts can police themselves, basically, and make sure that all the records are accurate. And they break it down into regions to make it a little more manageable for all the registrars. For seminars, closed book tests. We've heard a little bit about closed book testing. I don't believe there's going to be a closed book test because how do you police that? I believe testing is going to be online, and it'll be one sitting, and you have to finish it all. So that's the understanding right now. But again, we'll find out later today. And that's about it with seminars that I can tell you. If I had some more information, I definitely would.
We're definitely going to update as we get some information on that, which probably will happen in the next week or two. We'll definitely going to do a show on some of that stuff and kind of walk everybody through what the process will be as soon as we know, obviously. There's still a lot of stuff being worked out, I'm sure. And with everything changing, I mean, right now, I'm kind of curious personally. We've got a big tournament coming to Chicago in July. And normally we have a lot of teams from out of state that come to that because that's a major tournament. And some of those teams would be Florida, California, Arizona. Those are a few of the hot spots right now. And I think in Chicago we have a quarantine period for anybody that comes in from any of those areas, which is 14 days. So I guess if you drove from Arizona to Illinois, you don't have to come into Chicago. You'd be okay. But if you flew in from Arizona to Chicago for the tournament, you're landing at O'Hare, which is part of the city of Chicago, which means you would have a 14-day quarantine. So I wonder how that's all going to play out. I mean, this is something that we're all going to have to look at. It's interesting times, obviously. I don't know how enforceable that is or, I think they, for everybody's safety, they've got to enforce it, obviously. But I'm just kind of curious, what is your take on that? Do you guys have an opinion on what might happen moving forward with some of these games coming into town?
Scotty, I think as always, the hockey community polices itself. The coaches police their players, the parents police the coaches, the organization polices the parents, the coaches, and the players, and then the affiliate takes everybody after that.
Right.
It's a great topic that you brought up too, Scott, because Jim, as a coach, let's say you are at a tournament and all of a sudden, Saturday night before your 7 a.m. squirt rumble, for the go home game,
The big tilt.
six of your players fall ill.
Oh yeah.
Do you at that point notify the other team in the tournament and go home? Does the tournament allow you? That's the next thing, because a lot of these tournaments, if you do something like that, they won't allow you back. And how much responsibility is it to that and keep an eye out for things?
No, I mean that's something that we were talking about, is that's going to be the toughest part. If someone is sick, obviously, I think now it's pretty easy to just assume the worst and think, all right, they have it. But until they're, that's the thing. Do you want to wait until they take the test, until they get the results, and then tell someone, or do you want to say, hey, they think they have corona, they're sick, they have all the signs, but we don't know for sure, and then kind of start a panic? Because like you're saying, if that person was on the bench and playing in a game and had it that whole time they were playing, and in the locker room, now they have to tell every player that walked into that same locker room, every team that was on that bench, anyone that was around that team, which could be a whole tournament, like you said. So but do you wait? Do you not wait? That's the question. Do you want to send out that email saying, hey, we think someone might have it, and then what happens if they test negative and it's just the flu or it's just the cold?
Well, I got to think they're going to have, they're going to take everybody's temperature when they come in the building for starters. I certainly for a tournament, I would assume that would be the case, because that would be the quickest way to identify that somebody is potentially ill.
Right. But that's the thing too, right? You don't know if someone's just asymptomatic, and how do you account for that? Because we've been doing that at all the rigs pretty much. I work out at Heartland, and every day I walk in. I'm not even skating there, but I have to walk in, and I have to walk up to a stand, let it take my temperature, and then away I go.
Is somebody taking
I know
it, or
a lot
do they
of
have
coaches
this set
are
up
doing
automatically where the minute you walk in, I've heard of these things that are like setups where you're walking in and the temperature is taken, or do they actually have a person there that's doing it?
They have it automatically.
Okay.
They have
Is
it
that your
automatically.
experience too, Brad?
Yeah, so the rink here locally where I've been getting some ice, I've been running some skates. They have temperature check stands as well. One thing for parents, kids go through, if you have little ones, you're probably going to have to pick them up in order to get their temperature done. So don't let them stand in line and walk away, or else some dad like me gets to stand there and pick everybody's kids up. So just a word for the wise, because they have them set up at different heights. Adults are on one side at the rinks that I've been to, and then kids are on the other. And real little kids just they can't take their own temperature because they're not tall enough. So just so you know, and they get pretty heavy when they're wearing all their equipment too, and the 7th or 8th kid in a row. But other than that, yeah, I think the rinks are going to do what they can. Everybody's worried. Nobody wants to get sick. And until they know enough, I don't foresee anything really changing other than we're going to be able to practice and hopefully we get some games in. I hope. I mean, this weekend's going to be a pretty good test. Well, coming up. So.
For sure. We got another question here, and it comes from our friend Mr. Wilkins. Hey, Steve, how are you? Wants to know if we're going to be using e-whistles. What do you guys think? E-whistles or no e-whistles?
Not no. I got hand.
Okay.
Not in Illinois. The board already talked about it, and right now, plans of going to e-whistles. There's a couple reasons, but brought up. What are you gonna do with it with your hand when you wash out and when you go to break something up? And it seems more like an injury possibility if we can avoid it. We're going to stick with the traditional whistles for now, but that's not 100%, because if we want to play and rinks say you're going to use it, guess what? You're going to use it, or else you're not going to be reffing there.
All right, we got one more question from him, and I'll put this up. He says, any rule changes to account for COVID? BC adult hockey made quite a few changes. Well, Steve, you should elaborate on a couple of the changes that you are experiencing if you were up in Canada. Love to hear what those are. And, I don't know if they'll be the same here in Illinois or the United States, but, I'm sure there's a lot of things. There was a nice letter that came out from USA Hockey with a lot of the protocols. I hope you guys all took the time to read that. And it does cover things like wearing a mask into the rink and wearing a mask until you get on the ice. And that, yes, hockey does have some risk. I can tell you that because I spent about 8 months out with a broken leg a year ago. So, I'm going through this all over again. Same time of year, and now I'm going to have to get back in shape again. I'm not looking forward to that. But, yeah, there is a risk involved with hockey. And, I think we all just have to use a lot of good common sense, everybody. I mean, keeping the hands clean, keeping some hand sanitizer with you, probably even, bringing it over to the penalty box or whatever so you can, wipe your hands off after every period or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I mean, better hygiene. A lot of these rinks have small referee rooms. I mean, I'm not going to call anybody out at any of the colleges on the North Shore that have rinks that probably could use a little cleaning in that ref room. So I won't call them out because it's a really nice college and there's a really famous sports team that plays out of there. Am I right? And I don't think that place has been clean since the 70s, okay? But, it's small. So it's hard even for two guys in there changing for a game. But if you have, and they have high-level hockey there, so you do get 4-man crews going in there, or at least 3-man crews. So it's going to be tough going in those places. We are going to have to find a way to come out or get a regular locker room for the referees versus probably being in a couple of these broom closets that we've seen in a few of the rinks over the years. And I'm hoping, I honestly haven't been in the rinks, but I would certainly hope, it's a business. These people are taking it seriously and they want everybody to be safe. So I'm sure they're doing some cleaning in there and sanitizing and things of that nature. Am I mistaken? Because you guys have been in the rinks. I have not been in a rink yet so far.
Jimmy, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that, that was something I was going to talk about is because, when you look at, even a junior team, right? There's 20 guys on the team, and college is the same thing. You have 20 guys dressing in the locker room, and Scott, like you said, I mean, it's the same for players. I mean, I remember playing in some rinks where locker rooms are tiny, and you're going to the front desk and begging for a second room, and they won't give it to you. Sure. So is that going to be something? That could be something where even at the younger ages, I mean, my squirt team last year we had 18 skaters on our team, and there were some locker rooms where, I mean, kids are getting dressed almost in the bathroom. So, obviously now looking back on it, you just can't do it anymore. And even just stacking them up on top of each other, shoulder by shoulder, just isn't going to work anymore. So our rink's that was something that we were looking at, was our rink minute for everyone enough to get out and then give each team that space in locker rooms. Yeah. That's something we're right now.
Our fearless leader has chimed in, Mr. Kousel. Always great to hear from you. Love this guy because he's so passionate about hockey. He said, this isn't a rule change year, and USA Hockey has not given us direction that any rules will change as a result of COVID. So, that's great news. I mean, obviously, we're doing the same things. Now, Steve had put in here that there are some changes up in Canada. I think this probably for men's league would be my guess. But he said there's no face-offs. There's no penalties. It's penalty shots instead of penalties right now. And offsides and icing off of red line. I think that's what he's trying to say. So offsides and icing from the red line. I don't know what that means, Steve. I could try to figure it out. But, yeah, this probably for men's league. And some of that stuff probably makes sense. I don't think we'll be seeing that for youth hockey, but at least I hope
Scott,
not. So.
Scott, I'd like to point out something that you said. I want to go retouch on it again. There are tons of email blasts and tons of websites from our affiliates and USA Hockey and Hockey Canada and the IAHF. I advise everyone to stay diligent in reading all the materials that are being sent out, because the materials that are being sent out are for our own good. And the more people read, the less questions fall to the affiliates and the higher ups of each organization. And a lot of the concerns are brought up to the higher ups, and they've started to tackle those as they go. So I just want to say to everybody, just stay diligent, keep reading your emails. Things are coming out, stay patient. And then once we get going here, I think it's going to be a shotgun start, like in a golf tournament. Everybody's off at once, and we're going to be running.
Yeah.
And the more prepared you are and the more you've read, the less you're going to have to run like you're getting out of a car and pumping your feet really fast.
For sure.
There's a movie that happened once, but
one of the other things,
my age.
Jimmy and I had a brief conversation the other day when we were testing the technology, because as you can see, we use Skype for this, so I actually have to bring everybody into this other program. And it seems like the technology is holding up pretty well today so far. I don't want to jinx it. But, we were talking about the NHL, because I watch a lot of news, and believe it or not, at the time Jimmy and I had a conversation, I was not aware that they had chosen the sites, and the sites are the hubs are going to be in Canada, which personally I'm a little disappointed by that. I really had hoped they would come to Chicago, because we do have some great facilities close by and the ability for them to, to televise everything. I'm not sure if the rules are different in Canada. Some people said it was tougher up in Canada. I don't know about that. But do you guys have any information on that with both the, or I shouldn't say both the teams, but both the hubs being moved up to Canada, and now we won't have hockey in the United States, at least from the professional level at this point, until the next season would start. But I'd like to get your thoughts on that, guys. Jimmy?
Well,
or Brad?
you know
what? Well, sorry, Jimmy.
I had a 50-50 chance there.
One thing. Sorry. One thing that I would relate, it just as a common sense thing, would be the NHL. A lot of their players are from Canada.
Of course.
So it's a little easier to bring the minority of players one way than bring the majority the other. I would have loved to have seen it in the United States as well, but just think about it travel-wise, and then also if you look at Canada compared to our cases, our cases are much higher. Canada is a little more spread out between major cities, so I think they're hoping that they'll be able to get the players in there and the staff that supports them, because, yeah, there's 21 players on that bench, but there's another staff of 21 or 25 that come with them, and you're not talking about media personalities. You're really getting into a lot of people that travel for one professional hockey game, and I think they're trying to limit that exposure. And again, common sense would come down to that a vast majority of players, coaches, pretty much everybody is from Canada. I think that's the best way to do it, and bring the players that way, because we're blessed by this wonderful 65-inch TV on my wall. We can all watch, or we can jump on something like this and watch 4 games at once. So I think that's probably what they're thinking, but I could be wrong. Sorry, Jimmy, that I interrupted you. Go ahead.
That was perfect. I mean, I was going to piggyback off that and say it's what I think a big issue based around that same idea is that, in juniors, there's a lot of kids that don't know what they're doing next year. In New York, we have a lot of guys that are signed from Sweden, from Canada, from all over. We have no clue if they're going to be able to come. And I'm training kids this summer that are signed with Canadian teams, but they don't know. They have no clue if they're going to be able to go there or not. So now you have kids and players scrambling, and teams are taking more players than they should, but they just they don't know who's going to be showing up to camp.
We had a couple of comments that came in with regard to that. So Mr. Raslowski said that the restrictions are determined by Providence. They chose the 2 with little to no restrictions. So I was not aware that Ontario doesn't have as much restriction. I kind of thought Canada might be a little bit tougher, but yeah, they don't have the number of cases we do. I think we are probably number 2 in the world now for cases. I think Brazil is might be leading the way. If not, they certainly will be. And the United States, we have over 3 million cases now, so that makes sense. Somebody said 75 cents on the dollar, that the exchange rate might have something to do with it. I don't know.
They pay, and the NHL pays in American. So
Yeah.
just so everybody knows that, even the teams in Canada,
Right.
they have to. They may make Canadian dollars up in Canada, but
They're getting
they
paid in
do
U.S.
pay
dollars.
American.
Absolutely. And then let's see.
Mm-hmm.
No question, the quarantine enforcement is more aggressive in Canada. People getting fined big time for not social distancing. Well, that's the way it should be. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I live in the city. So I will tell you, I think things have relaxed a little bit more than I would like to personally see, because when you walk down the street, it used to be people tried to stay 6 feet away from you. Now they'll just walk by you. I mean, you're moving and it's hot outside. It's 95 degrees here, but it's a little different. I don't know about you. I've been in a few restaurants. I've sat down and eaten a few meals now. Nothing fancy, but I was shocked. I did go to one decent restaurant with a hockey friend, and we were the only two guys sitting at the bar, and that bar is huge. So I was really surprised. I mean, the outdoor tables, they have like 5 tables. They were full, but the indoor, there were only a few people in there, and I've been in a couple of fast food restaurants that are very small, sandwich type shops, and there's a couple people in there, but I'm a little concerned because I'm not seeing all the employees. They have a lot of delivery drivers, and I don't necessarily see them with their face covering on, which probably is not a good idea to be in that restaurant like that. So, there's still some challenges here. There's no doubt about it. So. It'll be interesting to see moving forward. I mean, we need to get through these next couple weeks, is what the experts are saying anyway, because let's face it, we've got, we've had July 4th and a lot of partying going on and things of that nature. So I don't know. What's your take on that, guys? Are you seeing that in the areas the communities you live in?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
Mine personally, I live in the north side of Chicago, so like right on the outskirts of the city. It's in the city, but it's basically the suburbs. And I mean, my particular area is pretty quiet. A lot of the restaurants and bars are pretty strict on the guidelines and, outside seating. And if you're going to sit inside, like, you wear your mask to the table and then you can take it off. No menus. You got to take the scan of the menu and pull it up on your phone. So I haven't seen anything too crazy. I think when it first happened, when we first started the quarantine, everyone was pretty strict on it, obviously. And then, Scott, I think, like you're saying, I don't, obviously I'm not in the city. There's not a lot of people walking around in my neighborhood, but I think it's people are starting to get a little bit more relaxed about it.
I think by me, Scott, a lot of people took it seriously, because right now in our areas, all the delivery drivers, you don't have any contact with them unless you happen to be watching out your window and wait for them. Yeah. Then you might see them, but everybody's dropping it off at the door and going, and you're either getting a text message or a notification from some sort of app. But I've been doing fine. We've been ordering. So other than that, going out to restaurants, I went out a couple times just to bring something in, and it's no menus. Bringing up with a scan on your phone. It's a little different to experience, and I don't know how much longer we're going to do this, but personally, I'm kind of going a little 4 walls crazy in this house, and I love my family, but I got to get out of here every once in a while. We got to get back to the rinks. That's all I'm going to say. We got to get back to the rinks.
Just the fact that you guys, maybe you're getting some exercise. I mean, literally, like, the poor dog is tired because all I do is walk her all day long. I mean, we are out in the heat. She's like, could we please go home now? I'm tired. And I mean, that's been like really the only exercise I've been getting. So we try to go out for at least 3 good walks, 45 minutes each, and put those miles in and get the 10,000 steps going. But I'm dying to go back in some air conditioning, because I don't have any in my house, and I am suffering right now. But also just I want to get some exercise. I want to be around some people. I want to just like this. I love talking to you guys. This is why we're doing this. I miss you guys, and I miss the the camaraderie in the locker room, and talking and BSing, and that's just the fun.
And I'd like to point out one thing. There are a lot of people that are riding bicycles right now that probably haven't in about 15 years. And you're always supposed to ride with traffic, okay? I cannot stand seeing people come at me on a bike on my side of the road when I'm driving. Just putting that
I
out
can
there.
tell you in my area, everybody has become a marathon runner. And if one of
Ah,
these runners with their shirt off, drooling sweat every which way, comes by me again, I am sticking my leg out, okay? I'm on record right now as saying that because I've had it with them. I think, if they were going to get serious about social distancing, they should have put the runners in the bike lane on the street. That's where they should have gone. And I think they should have made the sidewalks one way if they were really serious about social distancing on the side. Because some of these sidewalks in Chicago, if you get on the narrow streets, they're, you got 3 feet. That's it. So you're shoulder to shoulder if you go by somebody, or you got to stand and wait a block while they walk, to get past them. So kind of crazy. All right, we got a couple more comments in here. Let's see. Michael Osborne says, "I'm sure Rachel feels the same way."
yes, she does, Mike. Thank you.
She's ready to get rid of Brad. Yes. We've got our fearless leader, Mr. Cowsell. Nice picture of the dog. Let's see. He says, "We've had concerns locally regarding COVID and what to expect. Right now, each rink is handling the situation slightly differently. So we don't have a black and white direction of what, hang on, these kick off after so many seconds. Direction of what to expect from each rink. Things can change daily, and we will post updates to the IHOA site as we learn them, and that includes the potential use of e-whistles, masks, gloves, etc." All right, Mr. Cowsell, I appreciate that, but I'm pretty sure USA Hockey said that is not an excuse to put gloves on. Didn't I read that in the letter that they sent out? It's like, I don't care what the disease level is, you're not putting gloves on to referee. So that will definitely have an effect on some of the people. And we've got Michael says, "Do you think there will be any rules or policies that will remain in the long term after COVID ends?" Well, hopefully cleaning, like cleaning these rinks on a regular basis and sterilizing places. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a lot of our sanitation and sewer systems and everything else came out of the Spanish flu era that made changes moving forward. So, hopefully we will see a few things like that and that we will return to some normality, obviously. What's your thoughts on that, guys?
Well, I hope you see all the stores and everything they're cleaning up everything, and you see somebody wiping down carts and wiping down counters. I just and we don't forget. It's one of those things. We have the technologies in order to do simple cleaning in between almost every customer or every 10 or every 20. I mean, it's a little bit better, especially when you see it right now. But I just don't want us all to forget. And I think everybody is prone to forgetting what's happened in the past and repeating it again, unfortunately.
And Mr. Wilkins says, "What? Can't wear my orange gloves during slow, cold games?" That would be, you should never have been wearing those gloves, Steve. And, I think we've had that discussion, especially since they're orange. You're showing up your other partner out there because he doesn't have orange in a two-man. So, anyway, that's just my take on that one, Steve. But love you anyway, brother. But anyway, guys, yeah, there's definitely a lot of changes coming. And Jimmy, like in terms of working with, the parents and the teams that you have, where are you guys in terms of scheduling your season now? Are you guys all set to move forward and begin a season, or has this affected things? I know you've got an outdoor rink that you're, normally that's not always my favorite place to be, but having an outdoor rink may be a real big advantage for you guys this year.
That's key. We're very lucky that obviously the Winter Club is an actual club. It's a country club. So there are non-members that play there, but a lot of what we have are members. And, even now this summer we were seeing when we were shut down, obviously there's nobody coming in. We're not allowed to use the pool, but, now we're having roller hockey games with just a maximum of 10 players. You have to sign up for your time to swim in the pool. There's a lot more lessons going on for tennis and anything else going on at the club. But in terms of hockey, we opened up our registration. Everything is there. Players are signing up and registering. We are moving forward. We're buying our ice. We are getting everything situated. The first the first 3 months are pretty tough. It's hard to get our ice up in September and October.
Yeah.
And depending on November, hopefully it gets cold enough. We're we're really hopeful we can get it up as early as possible. But I mean that is a huge advantage that we have that not a lot of rinks do, is we control that ice. That is 100% ours, and we can do whatever we need to do with it. So it is an advantage.
That you've got people that are members of the club that have players playing there. Have you seen any change with the economy and everything? Or has hockey still got the same demand level, or have you lost some of the players? Because I know for myself, I'm still not back to work. I've been out since March 7th, I think was the last game I refed. But entertainment business, we're supposed to go back in August for some events with 50 people max, but I don't do events with 50 people. So, we've pushed tons and tons of events back. So are you seeing any pushback from parents that, are still out if they've been in the restaurant business, or they're in, one of the businesses that's only going to be, level 5 opening?
Yeah. And
or
I think
phase 5, I should say.
That's something we were looking at too, where, obviously a lot of teams, they have you pay a lot up front. Especially at the AAA level. I mean, you're signing your card and you're handing over a pretty big check to start off the season. So I think, obviously there's going to be some options for some payment plans. And I think for the most part, everyone's going to be a little bit more understanding and kind of aware of all that. And also that comes down to tournaments as well. What tournaments do we want to do? It's going to be kind of more of a collective idea instead of just saying, these are the tournaments you have to go, you have to pay. I think it's kind of, at least now, get kind of a consensus on, are we okay with going here? Are we fine? Are we comfortable doing this tournament?
Well, I'm curious, what tournaments do you normally go to that you're planning on going? And have you guys discussed options as far as travel would be concerned with your players and the safety and being at a hotel and all those things that are associated with that?
Yeah, no, last season, our teams went to Detroit, and then we went to Detroit, and then we went to Kalamazoo. So we went to Michigan twice. We were supposed to go to Wisconsin for one, but it got switched. We went to Detroit instead. But some of our teams do that's another thing too, is some of our teams do the Wisconsin Dells. Obviously that's a big one for young kids. And then is that going to be an option anymore? Are you going to be able to have 40 kids running around in a pool and going up and down the slide? And when that might be a tournament that people are like, hey, we're not going to risk that. I mean, I went there for one tournament, and I mean, it's chaos. It's chaos in that hotel with kids just screaming, running around. I mean, there's no social distancing there, that's for sure. But there were ones our one team made it to the NIHA championship, so we took a bus to Joliet, and I mean, even that, can you still do something like that? Can you put 20 kids on a bus at a young age, at least, and maybe 10 parents on a bus and ship everyone down? Even if it's a 2-hour, 3-hour drive, it's still gonna.
It is not 2 or 3 hours.
Well,
the Dells, Wisconsin Dells, from where you guys are in Lake Forest,
getting down there.
You can walk.
Good. Oh my God, that's
it's a bicycle trip for you guys.
15 from my house.
It's a 2-hour bicycle ride, okay?
45, 2 hours from Lake Forest. Yeah. But yeah, no, I mean personally, I want to take my teams to Vegas or Nashville, but I think we're gonna have to again find out the consensus on that if we want to. I mean, obviously, a Vegas trip right now may not seem like a good idea for teams, and even Nashville, I know that they're having a little bit of rise in cases as well. So I mean, but I don't think you're going to see teams doing that much anymore. I don't think you're going to see, at least at the AA level, but even the AAA level, I don't think you're going to see a lot of teams doing those. Getting on a plane as a team or getting on a 4 or 5 hour bus ride with a team. I don't know. I haven't heard anything on the junior side of everything, what they're going to look at doing, if they're really going to change much. I don't think that they will at that level, but at least at the youth level, I think they're going to take it a little bit more serious.
Brad, your
Well,
thoughts?
no, I'm good, Scott. I think it might be a good time to close it up.
I think you
Not
might be
have me
right.
get kicked off.
Tell you what, anybody got any last minute questions? We'll do a couple Q&A. If we got anybody else that wants to chime in here, we'll give you a second while we wrap things up. Jimmy, first of all, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Brad, as always. We have a topic for next week, Brad?
You know what?
Like
Let's
putting you on the spot, but
no. Let's get through tonight, and then we'll brainstorm because we might have some more information at that time,
Yeah.
and what we can divulge and what's coming out. I think we'll figure something out. So I'm not too worried about it for next week, unfortunately.
Yeah, so guys out there.
I was gonna say, Brad. Oh no, sorry. I was
No.
gonna ask Brad. I actually had a question for you because I know for coaching, they changed a couple things, right? For the registration and everything there. I know that for coaching, you can now get a temporary card, and a couple other things. Does that have any effect on the reffing side of it? I know I already registered for reffing. I'm looking at stuff, but
Not
I
that
didn't think that it could.
anybody's heard. And I think when it comes to enforcing rules on the ice, I don't think they're going to be very lax with us either off the ice. So I think we always need to maintain the standard of the game, and I think we should always take the higher road anyways. So I don't think any of that's going to happen. If it does, that's great, but I think the guidelines are set in order to get people to know the rules before they get on the ice and to be up to date. So I think we're going to be the first ones that are held to a different accountability.
We should be
when we
setting
get
a
back
good
on the
example
ice.
for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
we are the ones that they're going to be looking to for that. And when we hit that building, just like, when we come in for playoffs and we're dressed, I mean, we need to set the same standard when we come in, under the current circumstances. I think we need to, look the part and, seem like we're going to try to manage everything appropriately, which we are expected to do because, we do have some new rules as far as, like players can't spit on the ice anymore. And, coaches have to wear the mask and, social distancing. So there are some things that we will be accountable for, I'm sure. Am I right about that, Brad, or have you heard differently?
No, you're right. I'm official again, especially with social distancing, masks, stuff like that need to be enforced. That's on you. Yeah. Don't make the 14 or 15 or 16-year-old kid go over there
to talk to the
and
coach.
Yeah,
He's got
don't
less
do that.
chance of getting infected by him when he's screaming at him.
Take the high road. The good thing is if they're wearing a mask, we won't be able to read what they're yelling at us anymore.
Right.
That'll cut down on bench minors 100%.
Very good point. Andy Hudson has a comment. I think this is for Brad. He says, "Who's your favorite St. Louis ref, Brad?"
Andy, come on, you know it's you. So down there does the same thing with development for officials down there and a couple other guys. So it's always good to hear from Andy. He's a good sounding board. And if anybody has any time, he also runs one of these kind of, but his is more interview style. And he's been doing it down there for Missouri, and he's got a lot of good content. So if anybody wants to check that out, shoot me or Scott an email or text or anything else on the ref room, and I'll get you the link out to there. Maybe I'll just have Andy put it in there, actually.
All right, guys. Well, once again, thank you for joining us. We do this every week starting at noon Central Time. Please go over to Ref Room on YouTube. Subscribe, hit the notification button. We need to get 100 subscribers as soon as possible, so you could really help us out if you can have your friends subscribe as well, because we'd like to get that custom URL so we can get to more of you guys easier. You can catch us on Facebook. We have the group Ref Room, and we have a page, Ref Room. So hopefully you can find us there. We broadcast to all 3 locations. Jimmy, I want to thank you for joining us this week. Any last comments and closing comments from you, Brad?
No, I just want to thank Jimmy again for taking your time out. And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, totally
No,
different
guys,
perspective.
you guys are doing an awesome thing here. I love it. So I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, we'd love to have you back again.
Thank you.
So, yeah, thanks, guys. All right, guys, well, that's going to kind of do it for this week. Again, thank you for joining us. It's lunch in the Ref Room. Hope you'll join us next week. Get your sandwiches ready and join us at noon Central. And again, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Ref Room, okay? Have a great week, everybody. I'm Scott Smokin' Sills. We'll see you soon. Good night, everybody. Thanks, guys.